I'm Laura from the Wapaka Public Library. Thank you for coming to my kitchen today. I'm going to demonstrate for you one of my favorite recipes. I love to make scones. I've been doing it for about 5 years now. The first time I made scones from scratch, I grabbed a recipe off of the internet, and it was, I'll post it at the end of this video. The original recipe has crystallized ginger and lemon zest and white chocolate chips, and it was really a very good recipe. But you know, I don't always have those things in my pantry. So today we're going to make scones using chopped milk chocolate left over from Halloween. We're gonna add pecans, and we're gonna add dried cherries. So let's get started. So in this bowl, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. I'm just taking a whisk, and I'm gonna kind of combine it together, get it a little lighter so it's not so packed down. And then we're going to add in 4 tablespoons of cubed butter to this. So I've added the butter cubes to my flour mixture, and now I'm going to kind of get in there and work it with my fingers. I'm trying to incorporate this butter into the flour mixture, kind of pinching it and squeezing it. Keep working at it until you've got all your butter pieces are smaller than the size of a pea. Okay, so now you can see it's I've got a coarse meal texture going on here with this flour and butter mixture. The next step is to add 3 tablespoons of sugar. So I will add that into the dough. I'm gonna just whisk that around. We've got our dry ingredients all combined. We're going to add our wet ingredients. And so I am in this cup, I have half a cup of half and half. I have an egg substitute that's a chia egg, but you would put in 1 egg normally. And I have 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract because we're putting cherries into these scones. I really like the way that the almond and the cherry flavors play together. So then we're going to combine this just ever so loosely. I mean, we don't want to overmix. The idea here is to not overmix this batter. We want it will become tough if we do. So we're just going to combine it loosely. We're going to add our cherries. And the cherries, I think I've got about 1/3 cup. They're just dried cherries that I chopped up. I've got 1/4 cup of nuts. And pecans or walnuts you could use in this. And I like chocolate, so I've got probably 1/3 cup of chocolate chunks. And you could use chocolate chips as well. So again, with this, you don't want to overbeat this batter, but you just want to combine those ingredients. Oh, and now I'm going to flour my countertop. You could do this on a cutting board as well. So we're going to do a little bit of kneading. Now again, we're trying to make sure that that dough is tender, so we don't want to over knead. So I'm going to pour it out onto here. Get all that goodness, all that cherry and nuts and chocolate. Make sure you grab them all. And then we're going to do a knead on this. And so we're just going to fold it and pat it down. Now the recipe that I learned from, Molly's scones recipe, says not to do this more than 12 times. So do not knead more than 12 times. I recently looked at one on the internet that said don't knead more than 6 times. So less is best. So do it, keep it under 12, you'll be good. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that looks really good. So the next step will be to pat it out into a circle, and you want it to be about 1 inch thick. You just kind of want to pat it. Sometimes I'll flop it over in case it sticks to the counter. That looks really good. That dough looks good. So that's about 1 inch thickness. And then we'll take a pizza wheel and do a little cutting. So I've got my pizza wheel here, and I'm just going to cut out like a pizza pie I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces. Sometimes I'll cut into 16 pieces if I want smaller scones because they last longer. But for today, we'll just do 8 pieces. So I've got 8 triangles here. And this batter looks like it turned out really well. So I finished cutting my 8 pieces from my scone dough. Now I'm going to lay them on a cookie sheet that's covered in parchment. And the next step is going to be taking some of that half and half, or that heavy cream that we used in the dough, and we're going to just brush the tops. And I've got some sanding sugar here that I'm just going to sprinkle on top. You can eliminate this part if you're trying to control the sugar in them. It just kind of gives them a nice little crunch, or you could use sanding sugar or the turbinado, which is a little coarser sugar. And then we're going to pop these into the oven, a 425-degree Fahrenheit oven, for 10 to 14 minutes. And generally, I think with the larger scones, mine are cooking and baking in about 13 minutes. So we want to put them in there and look at them at 10 minutes. We want them to be golden brown on the top. Okay, so now my scones baked for about 13 minutes in my 425-degree Fahrenheit oven. They're now they're solid. They've got a little bit of brown going on. I put together a simple glaze using a half a cup of powdered sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and then I started with a teaspoon of half and half, mixed it together with the powdered sugar to get to that consistency that you want. So you might have to add a little bit more half and half than a teaspoon, but just keep going. Mix it all together until you get that consistency you want. And now we're going to dress these scones. I'm just going to pour the glaze on top. And then I did reserve some chopped chocolate and chopped nuts. And so you can kind of finish it off with a little sprinkle of a chopped chocolate on top, or a chopped nut on top. And it just makes them look great. You want to share them with your friends and your family. I don't know if you can see here. Maybe I can hold it up. So thank you for joining me in my kitchen and while I demonstrate making scones. These scones are, like I said, I've been doing them for about 5 years now, and really working from that basic dough recipe and kind of putting my own stamp on it with different flavor profiles. I've done strawberry basil ones. I've done, I really like lime, coconut, and dark chocolate together. So it's just been a really fun thing. It's kind of therapeutic for me to do, and I hope you enjoyed this demo. Thank you. Bye.